Hey everybody, we are glad to sit down with you and talk about some of the stuff, update you on some of these cases that came through last week. One thing that's always been really big with me is trying to be transparent. For the whole time that I've been solicitor, we send out to the media all of the cases well over a month ahead of time, saying on this week here's what we plan to try. That way, we're accountable to you. We're accountable in trying to get all of this information out. So good or bad, we try to let you know what took place on these cases. Almost every time we lead off with either a murder or for jury trials, either a murder or armed robbery or kidnapping, because you just have a lot of those to get through. We are a rapidly growing area. I think by last counts, the Grand Strand was the fastest growing area in America, and with that, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody is out doing bad things, but when you have more of something, you're going to have more of crime too. So these are a few cases that took place and need to make you aware of. The first case that we started off with took place on, come to an end on July 28th, where we tried a case of murder. It was a 2009 case. What started this whole investigation is some city workers from North Myrtle Beach found bones in the woods, wooded area off Old Saunders Road in up North Myrtle Beach, right off Robert Edge Parkway. From there, they started investigating back. He found out that those bones had been there for approximately 2 weeks, but there wasn't much left after a 2-week period, and of course he was found in August, so 2 weeks in August is different than 2 weeks in December. But that led them to Darrell Land. Darrell Land, what we found out is that this, from co-defendants and people that were helping us in the case, was that Darrell Land had planned on robbing the victim, Arnold Juice Bennett. He had used his co-defendant's house to set up a meeting robbery site. When the co-defendant came home, there was blood everywhere, and the victim was nowhere to be found. The victim had been loaded into Darrell Land's vehicle and taken to that area that I was telling you about off of Robert Edge Parkway, Old Saunders Road. That case went to trial. Mr. Land was convicted by a jury of his peers, and Darrell Land received a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Now in South Carolina, what that means is that you don't parole out, you die in prison, and when you're dead, they take you out and bury you. That's life in South Carolina. I say all that because it's different in every state, and in South Carolina in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, life simply meant 20 years and then you'd come up for parole every year. But our law has changed to where life really means life. We even call it pine box life now. It means you leave in a coffin. So Darrell Land went to trial and got life imprisonment for murder. Murder carries anywhere from 30 years to life in prison. So Land got life in prison. Another case that ended last week, but ended in a plea. It was a backup case for murder. The crazy thing about this one is that approximately 2 weeks ago, we tried the co-defendant in this case, the co-defendant Terrell Vasquez Harrelson was sentenced to 45 years for his part in a murder. He went to trial. He got 45 years on murder and attempted murder. His co-defendant was set for last week, and on the eve of trial he pled guilty. So he received a sentence of 30 years. There's always this how does this guy get this and another person get less time for the same actions? We've talked about it over and over. Sometimes it deals with criminal record. In this case, a plea, almost every time you're going to get less time if you plead guilty and accept responsibility. That is not anything new to South Carolina. That's the federal system. The earlier you plead, the better you'll end up doing, because you've already accepted responsibility. In this case, Tariq Griffin pled guilty. He got 30 years. His co-defendant went to trial, and he got 45 years. So quite an enhancement, but if you go to trial, then the judges usually give a little bit more time. Real quick on this case, what happened was there was a local man that was always in and around Long's. He got ready to leave Turk's Place, which is sort of a put together bar slash club. He was driving two friend of friends back to their house before they got to where they could be dropped off. A robbery occurred. The two backseat passengers, the ones that have now been convicted of murder, pulled guns and shot the front seat passengers. Then went up. They killed one. The young man that lived was able to come in and testify in the first trial, and said that they were rummaging through their pockets trying to go through and get anything of value. So again, Tariq Griffin pled guilty at the eve of trial and received 30 years. He will have to serve that 30 years day for day. Now in happier news, our office, the 15th Solicitor's Office, put together a food drive to help out Helping Hands of Georgetown. So what happens is, on first-time nonviolent offenders, to protect their record, say a person gets charged with B&E auto, breaking and entering an auto, they may be put into PTI. That consists of paying restitution for breaking the window and whatever you stole, but also making, in addition to making restitution, there's other things, and one of those is community service. So we sometimes allow them to bring food items for a 501, like Helping Hands of Georgetown. Anyway, this year we did that in June and July, and I'm proud to say that we collected $14,562.32, almost $15,000 worth of very highly needed non-perishable food items that we were able to turn over to Helping Hands of Georgetown. So a lot of good things happening, a lot of hard work going on. We will be back in court next week. This week we're in there doing motions that may be dispositive of the case, may not be, but that helps when a case is called to trial for it to go a little bit quicker. We know what rules we're going by. Y'all have a great week, and we'll get back with you next week and update you on the cases that we have starting Monday.